great, isn't it?
So good. They're being so active this morning, aren't they?
Yeah. Did you see, if you were watching, these are Kate McRae's blue tits in a nest box in her garden. Wildlife Kate is her tag. You'll find her if you want to watch these cameras yourself. But just before we appeared, one of the adults was in there burrowing deep down into the nest.
I don't really know. Apparently she's been doing it quite a lot, where she's been kind of going around the edge and sticking her head down, her tail feathers up, and pushing right down to the bottom. So, you know,
I think she's cleaning the nest. I think she's either looking for fecal sacs which weren't properly delivered and she was able to remove from the nest, or maybe she's rooting out parasites if the nest box wasn't cleaned out. Not casting no aspersions on Kate at all. It's a choice whether you do that or not. Nest parasites are part of the ecology of your garden as much as the blue tits are. So I don't clean out my nest boxes. I leave them with the nest in. So maybe she's rooting out some of those parasites.
Maybe, but she's doing it. You know, this behaviour is occurring a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? If anyone's got any ideas about why that might be, let us know. It's quite interesting.
Look how much the feathers have come through. You can see what we call the pin there. Oh, yeah, look, a feeding session coming. A little tiny caterpillar went into the mouth there. Look at that. We've also been watching them quite closely. We saw this happening. Have a look. This is not an uncommon occurrence in blue tits nests, I have to say, where the caterpillar that's just a little bit too large for the youngsters at that particular time, and they bring it in, and the young birds struggle to get the caterpillar down. But they're always desperate to do so. Sometimes it gets passed from mouth to mouth. If one fails, the adult will take it out and then give it to another one. But they show a lot of determination. I've never seen them give up and then eat the caterpillar themselves, which you would think would be the obvious course of action. It's like, okay, but if the chicks can't eat it, I'll have it then, because it's a nice juicy meal that I've gone all that way out to the oak tree to get for you. The interesting thing is, we talk about, the blue tits synchronizing their breeding to make sure that the peak number of caterpillars is up on these trees whilst they've got the young in the nest. But I read last year that the fledging success of blue tits' nest is dependent on the percentage of spiders in their diet. So spiders are harder to find. They're probably less in terms of calorific return because they're all spidery legs. But the more spiders that blue tits feed their young in the nest, the more of those youngsters get out of the nest. So
I wonder what the relationship is there then. Exactly, what's in the spider that makes it that much more successful?
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe caterpillars are just like bulk food. Maybe that's like the sort of the carbs. That's the chips, the rice, the pasta. But you really need the
veg.
You need the veg and meat and veg, obviously, if you're carnivore like the young blue tits are. Anyway, welcome to what for some period of time, indeterminate at the moment, is our last broadcast. We've got a super show coming up today, I've got to tell you. We've got a revelation for you, an announcement of something truly incredible, a conservation success story that's going to be widely celebrated. So we're very honoured that we've been given the privilege of breaking that news, and we'll be doing that shortly. We're going global again today. We've got a story from Spain, India, with some pretty exotic species, which is also got a message from one of conservation's greats, true greats I'm talking here, Jane Goodall, who sent us a little message that we'll show you later as well. So plenty going on this morning.
There's a lot going on. It's going to be a great one today. But of course, we can't forget the last quiz.
The last quiz.
The last, for now.
Yeah.
So today's one is quite a funny one.
Look at that.
What is that? I don't know. But here is how it works. So you place it on the palm of your hand, like so, and you use 2 fingers and you gently tap.
I think you're being quite rhythmic there.
Sorry, I got
a bit
into
more
a tune.
random. I think you need to be a bit more random.
I got into the tune.
Yeah, right. It's not quite like that. If you think you know which bird this is meant to replicate, let us know. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Okay.
Hilarious.
And if you haven't been watching earlier in the week, each of these devices in these beautifully made little boxes was fabricated by a French artisan and sold to me at great expense at some stage in the past. And I can assure you that when he was demonstrating the things that he'd so carefully crafted, they really did sound like the birds. It's just that Megan and I haven't really put the hours in trying to get them.
No, and it would take hours, I think.
Took some time, but anyway, but he'd mastered it. Anyway, see if you can guess what that, in the right hands, might have replicated the sound of. Now, again, if you have been watching our broadcast this week, you'll know that we've been joined by the remarkable Emma Mitchell. I think that her presentations about the benefits of natural health, as it were, being in nature, have been truly astonishing. I spoke to her on the phone last night to thank her again for her contributions. She's been going through a difficult time, and she's worked really hard to bring these to us. I think they've been revelatory in the sense that she's brought science to the fore. She is a scientist, and she talks about the chemicals that are actually there working. She makes it empirical. It's not a subjective thing. We're out here, we're feeling good. But she's telling us why we're feeling good here. So here's the last of Emma's little clips that she's made prove our mental health at this very difficult time for so many people.
Previously this week, I've talked about how getting out into nature and doing very simple things like walking next to water or coming into contact with soil can really help your mental health. It can alter the balance of biochemicals in our brains and make us feel more uplifted and calmer. But there are lots of situations where you may not be able to do these things. Maybe you know somebody who's got limited mobility. Maybe you live in a city far away from a green space that you like to visit and you can't get there right now. My mental health's been rotten during lockdown and I haven't even been able to face a daily walk quite often. But nature can still help, and that might be unexpected. I'm going to explain why and how. So, about 3 years ago, there was a study by the University of Exeter that showed that people who lived in a city had significantly better mental health if they could simply see trees and plants, foliage, through their window. They didn't have to spend time among it. They just had to be able to see it. Almost like having a photo on a wall. And in fact, the second piece of research that I'm going to talk to you about shows that when subjects look at photos of landscapes and they have some greenery in them, they feel significantly less stressed out. So these things imply that our brains are responding to simply the sight of nature, the sight of trees and plants. We don't necessarily have to be among them and to get out there to feel some of the benefits. And this can really help at the moment if you are struggling to get out of your house. Look online for photos. Of course, there are millions of fantastic photos of wildlife, nature and landscapes on Twitter and Instagram. I post photos most days and they are designed to improve the mental health of my followers. But video can take you a step further. Spring Watch is coming up. You'll see fantastic films of British wildlife taken during lockdown. Pine martens, white-tailed eagles, who knows? It's going to increase the levels of awe that you'll feel, increase the bursts of dopamine and elation. You'll get serotonin perhaps, and you'll also get your cortisol dialed down. So it'll be a step further towards being actually out there yourself. This week I've been talking about these simple ways that you can improve your mental health and backed up by science, but if you're feeling extremely unwell, you should contact a professional. When I am really low, I go to the doctor, and I also take antidepressants. These things cannot help you on their own if you're very, very poorly. What they can do is help to lift you from a dip in mood. It can help to lift the chronic stress that has been caused by the pandemic, or maybe you've experienced mental health problems for the first time and perhaps they can help you to lift out of it. But do get in touch with your doctor if you feel very, very bad. And I'm going to put some numbers on my Twitter feed that you can contact if you're feeling desperate. I hope my tips have helped and it's reassured you that very simple things, germinating seeds, looking at leaves, can make a significant difference and help you through difficult times. And now it's back to Chris and Megs in the New Forest.
Thank you, Emma. I think I can speak for the whole of the SIBC community when I say thank you for putting those together. They have been truly remarkable insights as well. And aside from the science, we are also obviously grateful for your truth. And if you've enjoyed Emma's broadcast to us, you can get her book. I would have finished reading it last night if I hadn't have got onto eBay and started buying old ones that I did have that clearly I don't have any longer because people have pinched them. So this is Emma's book, The Wild Remedy, How Nature Mends Us, a diary. I don't know where I'm at. I'm about, I don't know, mark the page. I can't remember. I'm quite a way through this book. It's slightly different than the broadcast that she's been giving to us because it's a lot more personal and it tells us a lot more about her journey. And it's very candid, it's very frank. But also, this book is full of hope. And I think at this time, that will be a good buy. We need a bit of hope. No question about that. And maybe that's why we started these broadcasts, because we were locked in the house. We knew we weren't going out. Spring was bursting all around us. There was a real joy in life in the garden. But whenever we turned on the news, there was very little joy at all. There was a lot of terror and fear. And we started filming things just in a very modest way, just me on my mobile phone, handheld. Fabian got involved with his tech wizardry and genius, of course. Kate came in and started thinking, what else could we do? And that's how these little broadcasts started. I've got to confess, we didn't really start with a mission. It kind of evolved on the hoof, but it became pretty clear pretty quickly that by sharing our passion and then asking other people in the community to share their passion too, that we could cheer ourselves up. And that, I suppose, became our mission, to cheer you all up and try to be a bit...
Cheer ourselves up as well.
And ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
we've enjoyed every second of it. It's been, it's kept us sane, it's kept us going, and we've absolutely loved it. And I didn't
enjoy every second when I was trying to get the printer working this morning.
Yeah, no, that wasn't
failing
fun.
Connect to the Wi-Fi. That wasn't quite so...
That wasn't quite so fun. But in the broader picture, of course, it's been, an amazing positive experience. We've loved every minute because we've connected more than we usually do. And also connecting with everyone at home, everyone watching, it's been amazing to see it kind of grow independently. Is just, more than I think we would have ever expected. More than
the four of us would have ever expected. So that's been really rewarding. Anyway, let's move on to our first trip overseas. Now, you would have seen Luke Massey before in our broadcast. He's an Englishman who, with his wife and young child, is now living in Spain. And he went out and caught some animals on camera traps, showed us pine muttons and a jennet, which was pretty cool. But he was also bragging about how brilliant his dawn chorus was. So we said, go on then, Luke, go out and show us what's happening with the dawn chorus in Spain. And here's what he found.
Welcome back to Asturias. No dawn chorus here really is the same. Where we are, we're at the head of kind of 3 valleys, a couple of rivers below us. So some mornings it can be crystal clear where we are, but the fog is hanging down like a carpet below us. And kind of as it gets closer to sunrise, that fog works its way up towards us, eventually blanketing us until the sun burns it off. Other mornings you can wake up, go outside and you're in that blanket. You can't see your hand in front of your face. Everything is just completely masked. And the birds really know that as well. On a clear morning, there's just a complete super duper dawn chorus. Everything's absolutely going for it, shouting from every top lamppost. But on these foggy mornings, it just really is subdued. As I say that, the fog's just lifting now and a sparrowhawk just shot through, but nothing alarm called, probably because nothing saw it, but it's the perfect cloak to hunt from. Sometimes it can be tricky to get up for the dawn chorus, but here we're pretty lucky. Sunrise isn't until 7, so it only means setting your alarm for 6 in the morning. It's not too bad. And no matter how groggy I feel as my alarm goes off, be it last night the horses escaped, so at 1 o'clock this morning I was rounding them up again, or my son teething all night, but as soon as you get out that door and you hear that first blackbird or robin piping away, just starting up, goading all the other birds to join in, then it's kind of everything's forgotten, the grogginess, it lifts. There's no feeling like it, whether I'm in the UK or here. The dawn chorus is just completely uplifting. I challenge anyone to go outside and listen to the dawn chorus and not feel completely kind of, I don't really think there's a word for it, it's undescribable, but overjoyed, happy, ready for the day ahead. Recently I've been a bit worried about certain migrants. This is my first year of actually living on the farm. Last year I was filming nightingales in the UK, so I missed all of this kind of spring dawn chorus, and once I was back all the migrants were back as well, so I have no idea when they turn up. But when I hadn't heard a cuckoo, when the redback shrikes hadn't turned up, I was panicking. What had I done wrong? Had something happened to them on migration? But then I come out for dawn chorus and I hear a cuckoo almost immediately cuckooing in the bottom of the valley. And then as the sun lifts, I'm filming melodious warbler singing away, and I hear a distinct call. And then in the bush next to me, it pops on top, and there is a beautiful redback shrike. So the shrikes are back. The whole cast is here. Red starts are a bit funny this year. I saw one actually the other morning as I was walking back to the house, and I do hear a few distantly in the woods, but they don't seem to be nesting on the farm this year. Who knows why that is? There's something about that hour, you know, the 6 till 7, you've got this incredible soundtrack and everything's kind of silhouetted, your eyes have got to adjust. If it has been a bit misty or there's some dew, you know, the cobwebs are perfectly covered. Everything, every piece of foliage has this kind of silvery glaze to it. I guess what I love about the dawn chorus as well, it's that kind of changing of the guard. We're really lucky here as well. We have nightjar, European nightjar, and I go to bed sometimes falling asleep to the sound of a churring nightjar. Now they're back. But now I wake up to the sound of churring nightjar as well. And it's that kind of changing of the guard, so that the nightjar churs away, the tawny owls are still hooting in the woodland below, but as they kind of fade away, those diurnal birds pick up and start singing. So that is a dawn chorus here on the farm in Asturias in northern Spain. I'm hoping that I've brought even just a little bit of what it's like to be here. It's quite hard to be able to film and record just how impressive this is and bring it across to you. But next time you get the opportunity, get out there, open your window. You can listen to the dawn chorus from in bed, but I would say it's even better to be stood there surrounded by those singing birds.
Beautiful.
Stunning imagery
Stunning,
from Luke there.
stunning. He's got a great eye.
He really does.
Yeah, his stills are fantastic as well. You should check out his Instagram, Luke Massey, on Instagram. Honestly, he's got some really good stills as well. Amazing. He's on Twitter at Luke Massey Images. No, Al Massey Images on Twitter. So you can check him out there as well. Really talented filmmaker. He's been working on a film about nightingales for some time. He has sent me a rough cut of that. And if it hadn't been for our, how can we phrase this politely, internet issues, our internet issues over the last week, I would have enjoyed that film, but I've got about a third of the way through and it keeps seizing up. So fingers crossed now that we fixed our internet issues.
Okay, calm down. It's okay. It's okay. Breathe.
Goodness
Breathe.
me. Now that we've fixed our internet issues,
There we go.
then I might be able to finish watching that. So check out Luke's work. And Luke, again, thank you very much for your contributions to our broadcast. They've been fantastic, very, very picturesque, informative as ever, and nice to get over to Spain to see a bit of the wildlife happening over there as well.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. And great dawn chorus, I have to say. You were right to be telling us about that one. So from one incredible conservationist to another, we want to show you an amazing clip from a young naturalist, Indy Green. Now, Indy joined us a couple of weeks ago as he was exploring his local patch. And I've been following Indy on social media for some time. And you can follow him at Green Indy, Greene, Indy, INDY. And I can tell he goes out exploring almost every day. And his knowledge and enthusiasm is just infectious. And he's filmed us a very special little thing about some wildlife on his doorstep.
Hi everyone, my name is Indy, and following on from my recent lesser spotted woodpecker film, I'm now going to show you a completely different side of the natural world, and it is the absolute perfect metaphor for wildlife on your doorstep, because my doorstep is here, and the wildlife I'm going to be showing you is here. Now, many of you may have seen these very mysterious volcano-like sand mounds in your garden recently, and I can actually tell you that these are the burrows of solitary bees. Now, in the UK we have around 270 different species of bee, and a whopping 250 of those are actually solitary bees. And none of these bees actually produce any honey. That is all down to the good old honeybee. Solitary bees are separated into two different gangs. We have the aerial nesters and the mining bees. Today we'll be focusing on the mining bees, but a very specific species, which is the ashy mining bee. Ashy mining bees are around 10 millimeters in length. The male is slightly thinner. Both have black and white markings, but the female has a very obvious, striking, beautiful white moustache. So these burrows would have been very recently excavated by the ashy mining bees. And as you can see here, they very much prefer the bare patches of your garden. So if you haven't got any, create some. These burrows will be around 10 centimeters deep with 3 to 4 stem chambers branching off them. Just imagine an upside down tree with very few branches on it. That's pretty much what it looks like. Now in that stem chamber they will lay one egg and then fill the rest of the surrounding space with pollen from some of their favourite food sources like dandelions. Within a few days the egg will hatch and the larva will feast on all of that lovely juicy pollen, and then after spending the winter hibernating in the chamber, they will then emerge next spring as a lovely, gorgeous, adult ashy mining bee.
He's absolutely fantastic.
Cheers.
You know, it's just, I'm so astounded by
Yeah.
all of his knowledge, everything that he says. He's just a really captivating young naturalist with fantastic ornithology knowledge, and yeah, absolutely brilliant work, Indy. Keep up that.
Yeah, keep it that
Excellent.
great work. And do you know what? I'm a bit ashamed we haven't got any ashy mining bees. So we must
No.
everyone's seeing ashy mining bees this
I'm a
year.
bit
Mining
envious
bees.
of everyone's ashy mining
Yeah, we've got
bees.
bare space because the poodles have ensured that we've got plenty of bare space in the garden, but we don't have any ashy mining bees. Must be a habitat thing, or maybe they just don't disperse that far.
Yeah.
But I feel a bit left out, to be
Yeah,
honest
hard
with you.
done by the ashy
Yeah,
mining
you
bees.
go on
to be
social
honest.
media this spring, all it's about is mining bees. That's all you can find on
We've
social
been
media.
left out of the group.
Yeah. Indy's brilliant. Indy's brilliant. Do follow him, as Meg said, on Twitter at Green with an E, Indy INDY. Top work, and we'll hopefully see a lot more of him.
Yes, absolutely.
Certainly will. We certainly will. Anyway, it's that time.
It is that time. Yesterday we teased you with breaking news.
This is very exciting. I wish I had a sort of a trumpet on which I could blow a fanfare.
Yes, a fan. We could do a drum roll and everything. It's very exciting.
But we're not
stuff.
musical.
We're
so
not musical. We won't. I don't know. Torture you with our musical
Well,
talent.
let's not do that. Let's not do that.
No, but so conservation around the UK is something which is, well, it can be incredibly successful. And we've seen amazing stories. We've been following the ospreys at Poole Harbour. We've known that the first egg laid in the south of England in 200 years was laid by a female this year. Unfortunately, that egg didn't hatch. It wasn't fertilised. There's no male return. That is a significant step forward in osprey conservation. And there's so many different projects. We've got the sea eagles released on the Isle of Wight, which is incredibly successful. They've dispersed really well. They've flown over the Houses of Parliament. They're doing fantastically, aren't they?
They're doing really well.
And there is one other project which we are incredibly excited to have the honour to reveal. I think we should hand over to Lucy.
Lucy Groves.
Lucy Groves
from
is the
Project
Stork.
Behind me, I have one of our nests here at Knepp, and this is our pair who attempted to breed last year without success. So the female is GB07 and she is one of our females from really early on in the project. The male, however, is an unringed individual, and while difficult to determine exactly where he is from, it is possible that he is a wild vagrant. They've been working really hard this year, and we noticed this nest starting on the 14th of March. She started sitting early April, and we were able to confirm by the 24th of April that she was sitting on 5 eggs. And after 33 days of incubation, right on time, last week on the 6th of May, the first egg hatched. So from the ground, it's really difficult to tell how many of those eggs have hatched, but the parents are displaying really interesting behaviours. So they're being really protective, they're moving things around in the nest, and we saw the male pick up an eggshell. But they're also regurgitating food onto the nest. So stork parents don't feed their chicks directly, but they will regurgitate food onto the nest, which the chicks will help themselves to. This is just one step towards establishing these birds in the south of England. It might be a small step, but it's a really exciting one.
What about that?
Stork chicks, for the first time in the UK, for such a long time.
How long? Hold on. I'm going to ask you a question. When was the Battle of Agincourt?
Oh no, not this again.
Come on.
Oh, Christopher.
1415.
1415.
When did storks last prove to breed?
I know this one.
Yeah?
1416.
The year after the Battle of Agincourt.
1416 was the last time that we had confirmed breeding white storks in the UK.
604 years.
So this is an incredible story,
Oh,
an
amazing.
absolute remarkable success from Lucy and her team at Project Stork.
Yeah.
It is something which we are incredibly excited about. And of course, a story which we're going to be following over on BBC Springwatch. So keep an eye on that, because we'll be following those storks and how they grow. And it takes about 60 days for them from hatching to be able to then fly. But we'll be following them hopefully.
And I can tell you that as we speak, there is a Springwatch cameraman and soundman, Harry Moore, down at the net where those storks are, trying to get shots of them. But we do have another little sneak preview. Take a look at this. This is possibly the first ever view of a young white stork in the UK in a nest for 604 years. Now you've got to struggle to see it. It's in the middle there somewhere.
It's in the middle.
It's in the middle, but if you watch it and then you replay it and then you keep replaying it and then you
replay it more,
and then you use some imagination, you can actually see a little stork's head in there.
peeping out somewhere, peeping out from the middle.
That.
What an I mean, that's just conservation at its finest, isn't it? Isn't it fantastic?
This stork project, it stumbled and it fumbled and it failed to find support. And the tenacity of the project members has been absolutely fantastic. If you go onto the website, Project Stork, you can see who all of those people are, all of the organisations, and Lucy and her team as well. And from Megs and I, and I'm sure from all of you, it's a massive, we're not wearing them, but it's a massive hats off for your endeavours, the development of your skills, your persistence and tenacity. Can't imagine how they feel, you know, on a sunny morning when they walk down there and they look up and they see those birds breeding in England for the first time in 604 years.
Absolutely ecstatic, I can imagine. All those
people,
volunteers, everyone involved in the project, I mean, well done.
They deserve to feel brilliant, and we salute your conservation endeavours. And thank you very much for allowing us to tell the world about this. Well, I think it's a pretty momentous event, to be quite honest with you. Good, practical conservation in action. That's what we need. Sick of talking. We want things that work, and this is working. So yeah, hats off, hats off. And you can follow them, I should say, at Project Stork. So they're on Twitter at Project Stork, but do check out the website and follow those. And as Meg says, Springwatch, we'll have probably by then when they grow a little bit, and with our Mark Yates as the cameraman is down there. He's a brilliant cameraman. He's got all the gear, of course. He'll be getting the sensational pictures of them as well. So
you won't be looking for little beaks anymore. We'll get you some good photos of them, I'm sure.
Coming up on Springwatch, which starts on May the 26th. May the 26th. Okay, so from a great conservation success in the UK to another overseas contributor, Aman Sharma contacted us a little while back, and we asked him if he could show us the birds that were in his garden. We're very satisfied with our blue tits and our robins, but here's our little bit more exotic, as you'll see in this video.
Hi everyone, my name is Aman and I'm a youth wildlife photographer from New Delhi, India. Today I wanted to speak to you about my favorite hobby and passion during this quarantine, bird watching. No, before you think so, I've not been roaming around in isolated wetlands or faraway fields to explore the bird life around me. I've just been bird watching from a place closer to my home, but something I didn't know much about at all. My backyard. This is a mulberry tree, the star of the neighborhood. At any given day, you can see all the bird species that I've ever seen in my entire neighborhood in the last 17 years. From woodpeckers to mynas to munias to hornbills. This tree supports a huge number of thriving birds with its red delicious fruits. And I've counted more than 60 species of birds on this tree itself. I haven't actually done anything special as such to maintain the ecosystem that my neighborhood has. All I've done is keep my interference as a human to a minimal and give the ecosystem the space, respect, and time that it needs to thrive and support our urban wildlife. My garden acts as a mini multi-layered forest. The bushes at the bottom keep a healthy soil. The bushes over here are for the tiny birds. These plants make great nesting space for medium-sized birds like bulbuls, and the trees above are a great place for larger birds to feed and nest. In fact, right now is summer, which is also the mating and nesting season of so many birds. And that's why in my own backyard, I have a pair of hornbills, green pigeons, jongos, barbets, and parakeets nesting at the same time on one single tree. A small tip to make sure that birds keep coming to your garden is maintaining a small bird bath in the summers so that birds can come, take a dip, get fresh, drink, and get some respite from the sweltering heat that we have here in Delhi. Trust me, birdwatching does start from home. Delhi itself has more than 500 species of birds and is the second most bird populous city in the world. But this is a fact that most of its own citizens have no clue about. Birdwatching starts from home. It's important that we just open our eyes, look outside our bathroom windows and our balconies, and expose ourselves to this wonderful world of urban birds and ecosystems that thrive literally inside our own homes. For the rest of this quarantine, happy birding.
What?
Oh,
What
all
a
of
flock!
that biodiversity there. It's fantastic, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But do bear in mind, of course, that parts of the Indian subcontinent are much closer to the equator, and there's a general relationship between species richness and proximity to the equator, so they get more species there. Also, obviously, India is a large continental landmass with an enormous diversity of habitats, which are probably feeding those urban birds into their cities. And also, people are very benign when it comes to their wildlife. They love their wildlife and they look at wildlife, as Aman does in his garden. So we do tend to see a lot more wildlife there in some areas than we might do in parts of the UK.
60 species on one tree. It's
I know.
Good, isn't it?
What a tree! Imagine if we had a tree. We can't brag that in our gardens, can we really? But thanks, Aman, for that. You can follow Aman on Twitter at Aman, so that's AMAN, SHA, Shah, Aman Shah 24. So AMAN SHA 24 on Twitter. Try and follow him there.
You can also find his book, which is titled 100 Indian Birds, Big Little Nature Companion, online. So you can see more about India's biodiversity of its birds and read more about, his experience with nature in that book too. So make sure you find that online.
Yeah, and it's encouraging, isn't it? Just like Indy, there's a young man out there with his camera doing great things with it, getting great photographs and sharing his passion for wildlife. It's really heartening that one of the things that we've done with these broadcasts is we already had a little bit build of young naturalists that we knew. And they have contributed, people like Bella Lack, of course, and Dara McNulty as well. Yeah. But we've been finding so many others, and it's really heartening. Everyone talks about this lost generation of young people not connecting with nature. We had Patrick Packham on. With Esme as well, who was Wild Child. His book was published yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, so, Wild Child,
check that out. Great way of introducing any young people that you spend time with as a parent, guardian or grandparent, and you can follow in Patrick's footsteps. But it's clearly working because there are some great young naturalists out there.
There are. So now on to one of our favourite guests that we've been joined by throughout this whole broadcast. She's been bringing you some amazing comments, showing us your clips, your photographs. Of course, it's the one and only Lindsey Chapman. How are you, Lindsey?
Good morning to you. How am I Hi, Meg. So I'm an emotional wreck. I can't deal with it today. The stream is just full of wonderful comments. Thank you for all of those. A few on Agincourt as well. And it turned into a cascade when you talked about the storks. Absolutely brilliant. I have to say, the weather in Manchester today has done so well through this whole run. It does look like rain, but don't worry, I'm a true northerner. I've got an on-hand brolly. Oh, yeah. Anyway, let's do some questions, shall we? I've just so much enjoyed looking through Self-Isolating Bird Club at your questions and your comments. And this picture was sent in from Worcester Woo 14. It's a privet hawk moth. Well, it's actually 2. And she wants to know what's going on here.
They're mating.
Yeah.
They are mating. They find each other because the female lays down a scent, and males often have these elaborate antennae which enable them to detect that scent, find that female, and then they mate. Mating doesn't last particularly too long, so it's great that you've managed to spot.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant photograph. I thought you might enjoy the symmetry there as well for you.
I did, you're right.
And Heather Stewart sent another picture. She says, whose caterpillar is this? That one looks like a bit of a whopper.
It is a bit of a whopper. This is large elephant hawk moth caterpillar. They are fantastic. I remember finding the first one as a child, and I was so enthralled by it. It was bigger than my index finger at that time. They're a really chunky caterpillar. And of course, on the front of the head, they have those false eyes there. And we've been talking about false eyes on butterflies at one point during our broadcast, and how that they attract the attention of potential predators and they scare them off. And these caterpillars will use those. So if you do inadvertently antagonize them, they will try to threaten you with those eyes. And also it's interesting to see that although the natural food plant for large elephant hawk moth caterpillar is rosebay willow herb, this one is on fuchsia. And when I used to find these as a kid, I used to feed them my mum's fuchsias.
Oh no.
The back door, never very happy about that.
She wouldn't have been happy about that.
Enormous amount of fuchsia, which is great, and they seem to like eating those. But yeah, what a find that is.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for those 2 answers and excellent pictures as well. Now, there is some quite stunning footage that's coming in. It is my absolute joy to look through it and see what's happening right across the UK because, to be honest, you guys at home are giving us a much better picture of how spring is unfolding because we are all sort of in our lockdown situations at the moment. And Bob Elliott sent a piece of footage and he says he feels really lucky to have been able to take his daily walk along the River Kelvin in Glasgow. And it really paid off. He went out early in the morning and got this brilliant piece of footage of an adult female otter with her grown cub. And if you look at it really closely, they're sort of pulling a large eel between the 2 of them. And the question is, how long will that cub stay with that female?
It's interesting. I think they stay with them for about a year. The interesting thing about it is that we always imagine animals in the UK giving birth to their young in when conditions are easier, weather conditions, particularly in Scotland where it's likely to be cooler and wetter than it is certainly here in the south. But otters can give birth pretty much in every month of the year, but it's not infrequent for them to give birth in winter. So then they'll stick with them right the way through to the following winter before they move. And again, how they move and when they move depends on the sex, of course, because male otters are the roamers, those that roam around looking for females, so they tend to have larger ranges and roam more frequently. The females tend to settle in their own home ranges. So, but she won't tolerate another female in her range, of course, so even if it's a female, it'll get pushed out at that point.
Well, brilliant, thank you. And I think that is a great little capture on an early morning walk. And we are noticing many people online saying they're noticing more this spring. So although we're in this very strange situation, the reconnection with nature is really important. Which brings me on to one of my favourite things. This is our summer visitors. My favourite bird is the swift. It's just an astonishing bird and it means the arrival of summer to me. I'm going to show you some house martins though, just flicking about, because of course we've got swifts and swallows, house martins, sand martins. What are the main differences when you're looking up at those birds?
Well, it's where they fly to start with. Swallows often skim across the top of the grass, taking relatively large insects, ditto house martins. Sand martins spend a lot of time feeding over water, probably because they sometimes nest in riverbanks as well, because they're burrowing into those sandy cliffs. Swifts generally feed much higher. I mean, you will see swifts swooping down low, but generally they're at sort of above rooftop height, feeding on much smaller insects. The swifts are arrow-shaped in their silhouette. the swallows obviously have those long tail streamers, which make them diagnostic. And then the thing to look out for house martins, which again, they might be a bit higher than sort of rooftop height house martins, you know, slightly smaller insects. And they have a very conspicuous white rump that you should look out for. So with a bit of practice, you can separate all of our hirundines in the UK. We occasionally get vagrants, things like alpine swift, and they stick out like a sore thumb because they're very different, much bigger, these bigger creatures with a pale chest.
Great stuff, some brilliant differences there, and do enjoy watching them in the summer sky. It is fantastic. I do want to just show you one incredible picture of swifts, because they do, well, almost everything in the air, don't they? They spend most of their lives up there. And Paul Leach, who's been a bit of a star on Self-Isolating Bird Club, his photographs are just wonderful. He's managed to get a snap of swifts mating in the air. Now, I don't know if you've seen Top Gun. It's one of my favourite films. I'm sorry about that, everybody. But when, yes, it's true, when they invert the plane, Chris, I know you're disappointed in me, but I don't care. And they're both flying along like this, one upside down. That's what this picture by Paul Leach is like. I mean, that's so incredible to have got that shot, right?
Yeah, it's really, really hard. Fast flying, trying to hold the focus. I mean, it's going to take a lot of effort, endeavour, and you know, many attempts, I imagine, to get that. I mean, contemporary cameras help. They've got a very fast frame rate and autofocus, but you know, no camera ever took a picture. It's the photographer that does that. It's their skill that leads them to press the button at the right time. So hats off to Paul for getting that. That's a great piece of behaviour.
Brilliant.
Absolutely, Paul. I just wanted to give you a big shout out because we are loving your photographs. I'm going to end, though, with you guys at home, because so many of you are saying thank you, and I will get to that in just a second. But it's been a joy for us as well, and you've really been sort of doing the things that we've been talking about. So Poppy's auntie has sent a little video of what she's done so far, inspired by you, Chris and Megs. She's made a wormery, she's made a water feature, she's got a little solar panel there, and she's got it coming to her garden. And that is wonderful for us to hear, taking on board these tips, and then the wildlife is coming. That does mean an awful lot to us. So thank you for all the comments. And I'm just going to play a little montage that I've put together with the help of Fabian and Kate to just show you guys at home some of the pictures that are coming in to our Twitter and Facebook pages, because they're unbelievable. And as that plays, I'm just going to read a couple of comments that have come in, because these are quite important. So Angela Johnson says, I'm self-isolating in an upstairs flat with no access to a garden and no way of getting to nature. This has been a wonderful start to my day. Luna Daisy says, thank you so much. You've rekindled my inner awe, educating me on things I enjoy and allow me to be part of a family of nature lovers. Peter Hutchinson says, it started the day off so well. I now have a pond, a hedgehog hole and a visiting hedgehog. Victoria Ann Andrews, it's changed my whole outlook. I hated the outdoors, and to be honest, everything with it. Watching Chris and Megan every day, and I just stumbled across this on Facebook, has completely changed my views, hobbies, and happiness. Thank you. Katie, it has literally got me through lockdown. My mental health has been shocking, like many people's, and I've had to shut my business. This has got me out of bed in the morning and started my day off feeling calm and serene. I don't know what I'd have done without you. Chrissy Jacks talks about loneliness and how this has helped with that. Katie Jones has watched every single day, and their comments just go on and on and on. They're absolutely wonderful. Maya Goldsmith watching from southern Spain. So I just wanted to say thank you for sending those in, really, and to let you guys know, because it's a wonderful conversation out there, and really to say thank you from us for coming with us on this journey as well, because it's been a joy, and I know it's not quite over. So yeah, Kate is going to put together a little list, well, kind of big list actually, of contributors and presenters and book recommendations. So you can, yeah, big thank yous out there. And from me to Fabian and Kate, who have made my job much, much easier. It has been an absolute joy. So thank you very much. Oh, and if you want to see a bit more of me, a few of you have been asking, I'm on Radio 4 at the end of June. So yeah, see you then.
Thanks, Lindsay. Thank you very much for all your contribution. Looking forward to that and bringing us the joy from all of our members in the Self-Isolating Bird Club and that community that's come together. It's not about us at all. We might have been the seed of it, but that seed has grown and now it's blossoming, and all of these people are sharing that joy and that respite and that solace and that health and healing that they're experiencing. And Yeah, that's great. Absolutely fantastic. Lindsay, we'll see you later.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thanks,
all your
Lindsay.
help, everything.
Glad you didn't eat the brolly.
Bye, Bronny. Catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
So a bit earlier on, we were talking about young people and how we found community of them, even more so than we already knew. Young people are, well, I don't know, they just are so engaged with wildlife. If they're able to get out and experience it, then they're just hooked for life. I mean, I know I was when, I met you when I was 2, and you quickly hooked me on to wildlife, and I haven't been able to, stop since.
I think I bought you a hamster and it bit you.
Yeah, it did. It bit my finger. I remember that. It bit me through the cage.
But I also bought you a praying mantis as well. That didn't bite you.
No, I had all sorts in my bedroom, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, let's leave the menagerie out.
There is one.
A lot of it was probably illegal.
Oh dear.
Well, immoral. Not illegal. Okay.
Anyway. So I was made aware of one fantastic young boy, a fantastic young naturalist yesterday, and he had totally blown me away. So this is a photograph of Toby Marshall. Toby is 5 years old. He's isolated with his parents in Scotland. Now he is so, into nature. His parents, I don't think his mum, is as into it as he is.
She will be.
But she will be now, because I've heard that he has made her watch all of the Deadly 60 programmes, read all the books, watch our documentaries, watch all kind of Attenborough everything. And he is a fantastic naturalist, to the point where he's got this ID book, and the way he's gripping onto it for dear life is the best thing ever through that window. Yeah. And he's fantastic at IDing birds already at 5 years old. He's, he'd give you a run for your money, Chris.
Someone who was I think it was someone who was cleaning his windows, who's also a really good naturalist as well, and photographer. Thought he'd give him a test, and so he tested him on some birds, and he was getting things like white-billed diver, some quite obscure species. So Toby's clearly got a developing skill for ornithology. There's no doubt about that.
Brilliant.
But he's got his own hide as well.
He's created his own hide in his living room out of a cardboard box, and he sits there with his toy binoculars, searching the living room, because of course in isolation it's going to be difficult to get out. But I know he's been getting out as and when he can with his mum.
Well, if he's built the hide in front of the TV, and he's been watching a man, he's just seen some pretty exotic species.
You've gone all the way to India.
All the way to India. That's the thing to do. So he's got a big flat screen. I mean, this is quite cosy bird watching, actually. I think Toby's years ahead of his time.
Pillows in there.
Frankly, it's nice and warm. He's got his mum bringing him tea and cakes. I wish I'd been doing that.
Oh yeah.
I was in a freezing tent at the bottom of the garden trying to get a picture of a blackbird. Toby's got it sorted.
Toby's such a fantastic naturalist. We really want to send you something, Toby, so we'll get in contact with you after the live broadcast. We thought we'd send you.
We were going to send him a book.
We were.
But then we thought, his mum's bought him that book. He doesn't need a book.
What we thought we'd send you is this fox skull. So this will be on its way to you, and we'll get in contact after the broadcast has ended. So top work, Toby. Keep up the amazing work.
That's the sort of people we are. We send children skulls in the post. You'll be reading about that in the Daily Mail in a few days. But yeah, we're going to send him a foxhole. This one, Toby, I'll stick it in the post. So we'll make sure we get your address, and when it's safe to do so, we'll wipe it down and post it off to you to make sure it's all safe and secure. Keep up the good work, Toby's mum.
Well done.
Yeah,
well
you've got to salute the parents as well.
Yeah.
Bear in mind,
exactly.
She's putting up with a hide in her living room.
Driving that passion, allowing him to flourish in that way is fun.
Brilliant.
So well
Brilliant.
done to you guys.
Okay, right.
Now, throughout the course of the broadcast, there have been references, Christopher, that you have, domestic references about certain things in the kitchen.
What, like washing up?
Well, I haven't told you that I was going to do this, so this is a bit of a surprise for you. Now, at the very beginning, we started doing a graph about who was doing washing up and who was doing the cooking.
Pretty one-sided.
Now, well,
one side for washing up, one side for cooking.
Yes, sort of. But I've created something. I've created a pie chart for you. I know how much you love pie charts.
Oh no.
So here is the statistics for the washing up. Now, Chris is in blue. I am in red. So I will admit, Chris has done more of the washing up than me, 54.5% washing up, whereas I've done 45.5%. So that's that one right there. So yes, you were a bit more than me, but have a look at the cooking. 93.7% cooking was me. And this little slither, I mean, it's barely even visible. I mean, can you guys see that okay? I mean, it's minute. Absolutely
You see that
minute.
blue slither? That was one of the tastiest pastas ever made in Christendom. I mean, you know, people will be talking about that pasta for years to come.
I had to eat it. I can tell you that's not the case. And the rest of it is all kind of like oven pizza and oven chips. But, you know, I thought I was going to say for it, but then I saw on the comments yesterday, lots of people were loving the washing up stuff. So I just had to round it off for you because I know you were all very interested.
Let's move on to the bird quiz. Let's move on to the bird quiz. Right. Okay. Oh no, hold on before we do the bird quiz.
We do that.
I was looking any way out of that conversation. I was just struggling. If you were watching last week, or no, week before, you'll know that we were announcing a colouring competition on behalf of Butterfly Conservation. Butterfly Conservation does what it says on the tin. They are an absolutely fantastic charity working in the UK, not just for butterflies but for moths as well. Organised excellent surveys throughout the course of the year, and which you can take part in and contribute to good citizen science. They've got a great range of publications. They are really worth checking out, Butterfly Conservation, and they're brilliant. Anyway, they organised this colouring competition.
They did.
And we were able to judge the final. And so, Meg, you've got the results here.
I do. I have the results. So there were 3 categories. So we'll start with the 16 plus, and that goes to Family W. This is a fantastic drawing, I think, because it's all the rainbow. And if you look at the background there, it's got the fading colour. Really imaginative. I think it's like one of the most elegant butterfly colouring I've seen.
Yeah, it was really neatly done, wasn't it?
Very neatly done.
I wonder who in the family did that. I wonder if they've got a pie chart as to who did the most colouring on that.
If they haven't, they definitely should.
Right, yeah, okay.
So the following category is 9 to 15. The winner of that is Bethany. Well done, Bethany. You've went for a really realistic drawings here, which is what I quite liked about it. It was very natural. You've noticed all the different species and the detail there is fantastic.
Tortoiseshell.
Yeah, exactly. You've got red admiral. So
looking like the butterflies.
They do. They look really good. So well done to you, Bethany. And then the last category is the under 8 category, and that goes to Isabella Cutliff. Look how vibrant that is. The colours, that yellow contrasted with the purple. I mean, it's brilliant, isn't it? Very colourful, very imaginative. You really got stuck in there. So well done.
That's the one for me, I think. To be quite honest with you, I like that. Yeah. I like those sort of bright colours.
Yeah.
Really punching out. Top work for all of you who have taken part. Of course, the message was clear. Engage with butterflies. This, in a way, artistically here. But now the time is to get out and engage with those butterflies in the field, as and when you are able to do so. In the meantime, do visit Butterfly Conservation's website. Find them on Twitter as well. But they are, as I say, a fantastic charity doing lots of great work and brilliant experts at Butterfly Conservation. If you've ever got any inquiries about butterflies, they won't like me saying this, of course, but it's their job. Then you can always ask them, and they'll be very coming with their help. And try and get involved in their big butterfly camp, which will be launched, fingers crossed, later in the summer, because it's something that we all do in our gardens, and therefore, even if there are still restrictions, we should be able to take part in that top work. Okay, now the quiz. Okay, right, here we are. So it's a small leather pouch with a sort of metal device. Did anyone get it right?
There were, a few.
Go on then.
So on Facebook, we've got Catherine, Jenny, Julie, Vicky, Jane, Mark, Emma, Mike, Claire, Sue, and Elaine. On YouTube, there was one. There was Oliver. So that's everyone that got it right.
It is. It's obvious. Absolutely obvious.
Yeah, clearly.
House sparrow. It was house sparrows.
I would never have got that in a million years.
That sort of that's unfortunately because you've never grown up in a house where they've been on the eaves. If you were lying in your bed as a child, as I was, with the window open, listening to the...
I don't think that sounds anything like it.
Chattering of sparrows outside the window. That's what it was used to be like.
Here's what it says inside the box. Okay. To imitate a sparrow, don't blow. Place the bird call in one hand, and then with the other hand, give discreet little taps. Note and follow the particular rhythm. Sparrow.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Exactly what I was doing. Okay. Well, yes, looking at those over the next X years. In the end, we'll be able to protect them.
We'll do our best.
Birthdays. It's Kabir's birthday.
It is Kabir. Kabir and your brother Ariane. So happy birthday to you. I think your birthday's on Sunday.
Yeah. Another one of our great young naturalists. Follow Kabir as well. He's Kabir Call. You'll find him on Twitter as well.
Yeah. So we've got Sheila Dilly, 67 today. Very happy birthday to you. Evie, your birthday's on Saturday. You're going to be 13 years old. We wish you a very happy birthday. Jennifer Coles too is on Saturday. We've got May, who is 60 tomorrow, wishing you a happy birthday. So also Alyssa, who's going to be 13. And yeah, I think that's it. So happy birthday to everyone. We hope you have a fantastic day and enjoy a bit of wildlife if you can.
If you can. Okay, we're coming towards the end. Before we wrap up, we've got this message from one of Conservation's greats, none other than Jane Goodall. And here's what she's got to say to all of you members of the South Isolating Bird Club.
Hello, this is Jane Goodall, and I'm really happy to be able to give a message about the importance of nature. Yeah, when I was a child, I grew up and I was outside all the time because there wasn't any TV or any of these things that young people spend so much time with now. But we know that being in nature is really, really important. It sort of opens your mind to what's out there, and it's full of surprises. And you can just go on a short walk, even in your garden, and find something new if you really look. And at a time with this coronavirus, when people are a bit frightened and everything, to just be outside and hear a bird singing or watch a bird hunting for worms on the grass, or look at the new leaves budding out from the trees, or the little insects beginning to come out from their winter sleep, the bees looking for nectar. It's all so beautiful. And I know that this program is letting a lot of people understand just how exciting it is to learn about nature. So that's my message. And I wanted to do it outside, but it's pouring with rain. So here I am inside, but still looking out of the window at the trees, the copper beech and my beach. And so for now, goodbye.
It's all so beautiful. That's what she said. It's all so beautiful. And isn't that what we've all realised when we've been out on our daily exercise or exploring our garden, looking out the window? That's what we've all come to realise as a community in our South Isolating Bird Club. All of those things that we walked past and trod over for years and years, when we've taken the time to stop and actually look, listen, smell, we've recognised that it's all so beautiful. So I think that we can't deny that part of our mission going forward is to make sure that it stays beautiful. And that's what Jane has been doing all of her life. She has fought, quite literally, for species all over the planet and continues to do so. You know, we do need it. We know that now. And we can appreciate it. We know that. But we also need to look after it. And that's what's got to come next. Because despite the fact that it all looks green and wonderful, it's not all quite as green and wonderful as it should be sometimes, and it's going to rely upon our help to sort it out. Jane has been doing just that. A great source of inspiration for so many people, not just in the UK, but all over the world. Thanks, Jane, for that. And she's working in schools as well.
She is. Yeah. She runs an organisation called Roots and Shoots, which aims to bring nature into schools, which is, of course, so important to educate young people on the wonders of nature and get them connected to it. But she's a hero of mine. You know, her work with chimpanzees, other, primates, and she's just a remarkable, remarkable lady. And I think, what you just said there was really poignant. And the whole point of the South Isolating Bird Club was to bring a bit of positivity and show wildlife for the beauty that it has got, and for us to feel more connected to it and gain in our own mental health. But one thing that I would, say to everyone watching is, throughout this time, we have paused and we have connected to nature like never before. We're noticing the detail, we're noticing the unlikely things of nature that we would never have noticed before, simply because we were too busy and our minds were elsewhere. So nature has really saved us now. Going forward, it's time that we save it, because most of the animals that we have seen on our broadcasts are in significant decline. We've kept things positive, but it's really important to say that things are really struggling out there. They really, really are. And if nature attacks you in any way, shape or form throughout this lockdown, think about ways that you can improve nature. How can you help it? Maybe you've already done a lot, but there's always more that we can do. So keep thinking of that and think about how you can help nature, as it's really helped.
Exactly right. Good stuff. Before we go, just to be very clear about what's going to happen next. Okay, so as from next Tuesday, the Springwatch social media platforms will be active 24 hours a day. Lots of fantastic content coming out. So that'll be on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, of course, as well as the website. Megan and I will be contributing to those at 12 o'clock each day from Tuesday. For 15 minutes, we'll be doing a show. We've got a few things that we've got lined up already. But of course, we'll also have access to some of the live. Have those on Tuesday or not, we're not exactly sure. That depends. Obviously, things are difficult this year with access and using the technology and so on and so forth. But I can promise you it will be really good stuff. And we are very, very excited about the social media output for Springwatch this year. As of May the 26th, so that's the following Tuesday, the terrestrial programme on BBC Two will start. And again, we've been looking at some of the films that have been made. We've got some brilliant stuff coming up. We've already mentioned the Storks will focus. It will be reactive, of course, as and when things happen. As ever, Springwatch will react to what's going on, whether it's bad weather, hopefully not, or exciting stories like those Storks and other things too. We've got a great range of guest presenters joining us this year. We've got Gordon Buchanan, Ellie Harrison, and Steve Backshall joining Yolo, myself, and Gillian. We're all going to be broadcasting from our homes because at this point in time, there are still restrictions in place that mean that that's the best thing for us to do. So we're all excited about sharing some of our space. Megs is joining in too. We'll be chucking some science into the mix from our back garden, which is going to be good fun. Starting next Tuesday on the BBC social media platforms. As I say, Hannah Stitfall's going to be doing a lot of work. You've seen Hannah do it. Well, she's a great broadcaster, and she's leading most of that social media campaign, which is going to be great. But there's going to be invitations for people to take part, so get in touch with Springwatch. And we're looking forward to that.
So we'll see you
exciting stuff, of
next
course.
Tuesday on social media, and then the following Tuesday on the main programme.
Well, you can't say main programme.
Not the main programme.
Terrestrial programme.
Terrestrial programme.
Yeah, no, I think the social media is going to do great things this year.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's all part of the mix now. It's all part of the mix. It's not just about the main programme any longer.
I scratched that from the record.
Yeah, scratch that. I'm calling it the terrestrial show.
Terrestrial show.
Yeah, but it's very exciting. The social media team we've got working on Springwatch this year are
fantastic. It's
really good. I tell you why, because their skill set has been boosted by Fabian joining them as well. So Fabian's going to be doing some stuff for them, which is truly great stuff. Excellent stuff. Okay, that's just about it, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to leave you with one last clip. This is a montage of our best moments.
Well, best and worst.
Best and worst, yeah, of self-isolating broadcasts. Honestly, you need to work on that.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
So for us, from now, we thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you very shortly.
Yeah, we'll see you. Remember, we're going to talk about what we're going to do next to contribute to that conversation. So we're taking a break, but we're not going away.
Oh no.
See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Good morning, everyone, from Megan and I down here in the still remarkably sunny New Forest. It's been fantastic weather we've had this week. Cheering everyone up. Came at just the right time, I think.
Absolutely astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. What an amazing bird. Amazing story. Great little clip, Dan. Thanks ever so much. There's only one thing that needs to be done at this point. Step back, Mix. Oh, honestly, Philippine eagle.
With that, I think we may be going to a poodle clip.
A poodle clip?
A poodle clip.
Well, you know, you don't mean a clip, like clipping the poodle.
Well, we might actually have to at some point, because obviously the groomers, I mean, that's going to be a test, isn't it?
Oh,
They're not going to like that.
We'd have to cut the poodles.
We might have to cut the poodles.
I'll practice on you first. Don't want to ruin the poodle's haircut. I'll practice on you first.
And actually, David Tully has recorded these birds. Sid, Nance, honestly.
Unbelievable response on the Facebook group, on the Twitter page as well, and the live stream. I love watching it this morning. Darren W wants to see my slippers. Sorry, Darren, they're just for me.
Very wise, Lindsay. Very, very wise indeed. Okay, thanks, Lindsay.
also coming up on Sunday, very special guest.
Very exciting. You might guess who she is. She has the ultimate scrunchie collection. She was your partner in crime for many years. She's going to tell me off for saying that. Of course, Michaela Strachan is going to be joining us all the way from South Africa.
And I mean, we all know that he loves punk rock music, but I have never, ever seen him do this before. Have a look.
Oh no, what?
I mean, I don't know, is that dancing, Chris? That jiggling around sort of movement that you're doing?
Anyway, I've had chickens for about 30 odd years now. Thank you.
I'm not liking the sound
Right,
of this
okay,
one.
this is something which should be really, really smelly.
Oh,
Oh, come on, have a good whiff of that.
And we're off air.
oh, that's a wrap.
Oh, I went okay, I think.
It's okay. I mean, I feel like I've grown a few more grey hairs
Yeah.
in this process.
Yeah, well, you can have a lie-in now. I'm going to watch zombie. I'm going to wake up at 7 in the morning with the poodles and watch zombie movies in bed.
Oh, that sounds great. You know what? I'm going to have baths in
Yeah.
the morning.
Guys, I should just say we're on Springwatch channels daily for the next 4 weeks, starting Tuesday, 12 noon. So did you not? You didn't get that memo, no? No? Well, join us next Tuesday for 4 weeks worth of great content from 12 AM with Chris and Megs back again.
We'll see you there.